Okay, listen. Before I get into this whole thing, I just want you guys to know that I am fangirling pretty effing hard over all of the content stuff that they're adding. There's a lot. I have clips of most all of it. If I ended up missing some small detail, I apologize, but I'm writing notes like a madman, like feverishly. I got a ton of stuff, line after line, and I got a lot of clips and a lot of recorded information. I'm going to try and get to all of it as quickly as I possibly can. I would ask that if you plan on watching the video that maybe you stick around for the whole thing, and it just kind of kept getting cooler. There are 2 or 3 things that they didn't show us. One was he has 2 sets of boss teaser like animations, how they fight, whatever, that they were going to include, but he didn't like the production of it for whatever reason, so he pulled it. He said that the first one will be shown on social media, and he'll end up showing us the second one maybe on like a later date. So just remember, for everything it is that you see here, there are additional things that will be in a future patch or in the next patch, the next big patch that is coming, that will not be included in this stuff. Okay? Okay. Here we go. Newsy news. Newsy news. Newsy news. Newsy news. Okay, so first things first, Nikita said today was a special day. And of course, the biggest things that chat wanted to know about was the wipe. He confirmed that there will be a wipe with the next coming patch, the big patch that's going to also include the Lighthouse expansion. So we have definitive confirmation that the Lighthouse expansion patch will include a wipe. He said that it is soon, but they are still working on polish. In the midst of this video, there was also some teaser footage that we got of Lighthouse and the Lighthouse expansion and some of the expanded area, but again, not all. They even kind of gave us a little cucking with running over a landmine in front of the actual Lighthouse proper, which I believe was probably a dev mine or a dev minefield that they put on the ground as well to make sure that we didn't see it all. So throughout this stuff that I'm reading, I'm going to be playing a lot of that footage, so we'll be able to see some of the other things that were teased. A lot of this will be during a walk around in that new area. While they said that there were going to be Twitch drops in the course of this stream as well, there weren't really drops. What they ended up doing instead was some promo codes that they would put on the screen periodically throughout, except that the website that they have doesn't really handle that much traffic. It's not really made to handle 100,000 people pinging it at once. This isn't like an Amazon-esque style webpage, so Cloudflare just kept taking a dump on itself, and a lot of people were not able to redeem the codes. I think myself, I only got 3 out of the 5 of them. Nikita said for the wipe, just wait for the pre-wipe events. If I'm going to be a guessing, betting person, I said back in February 11th that I assumed it would be somewhere around the first to second week of June. June 12th would make it an even 6 months since the last wipe, which was on the 12th of December. I would assume that we would see it somewhere in the next 2 weeks. I personally would be on the lookout for some point next week, maybe, where we would see some type of bona fide pre-wipe event kind of stacking on itself day after day, along with some of these other bigger teasers with bosses and whatnot. And it will probably then move into, the actual wipe. I would guess maybe the 3rd week of June would be kind of cool. On to Arena. And we had this promo video that they basically just kept rerunning. He even said, don't bother going and checking out Summer Games Fest because it was just going to be the Arena teaser. And he went through some rapid fire questions that were asked in advance. So the first question was, how are people able to participate in the beta testing of Arena mode? Nikita said this would be based on activeness on the ETS servers for people that weren't, like, say, famous content creators, for instance. Not that I'm necessarily one of them. In a pool of people that they will also invite to test the game as a hand-picked invitation pool. My guess would be it would be relatively well-known streamers and content creators, people that are Sherpas for the game like myself, and people that are emissaries for the game as well. So if you're somebody that would like to get in on the testing of Arena mode, obviously it's going to have a limited player base and would need to because they have to stress test things. I would recommend signing up for the ETS testing servers and see if you can get yourselves in there and put some hours in with testing some of those mechanics that they have been toying with for the last handful of months. Will EOD remain on sale through the release of Arena mode? Yes, but EOD will be gone after the full release of the game. So when we see a 1.0 release of Tarkov, EOD will go away. So if you're somebody that is considering buying EOD, I would highly recommend that you do that in the near future as to make sure that you get all the DLC add-ons for free. The cost of Arena mode will not be too much. He's not giving out the price just yet, but he said it won't be like a lot. Now, what a lot means, I have no idea, but I would assume it's going to be less than $30. If it were me, I would say somewhere around $15 to $20 seems appropriate. The next question had to do with how you're launching Arena mode. If it's a separate game and you still own EOD, will there be 2 separate launchers or will you be able to access it from within the game of Tarkov? He said that you will quickly be able to switch between the two different game modes. If you have EOD, there probably will be a menu entry for people that have EOD to be able to just switch to it. He also said that for Arena Mode, EOD owners will obviously be able to play with non-EOD owners at the same time. And then for map count, he said there would be 5 to 6 arenas. 3 to 4 of them will be small and 1 to 2 large on launch. The location, quantities, that kind of thing of those different maps will be increased over time. Nikita said he would like to have a large variety of maps to be able to play on. The next question had to do with indoor versus outdoor maps. He said there would be outdoor maps as well with weather effects. If there would be a spectator mode, he said yes. What team counts are we talking? He said for now there's going to be 2 teams, 1 blue and 1 red. Will it be possible to have pre-made teams? He said yes with custom games. And so that has been absolutely confirmed. Custom game modes will be available where you'll be able to modify loadouts, like a pistol-only arena, for instance. But the core game is going to have matchmaking features associated with it. In terms of ping limit, he said he was not sure, but that the servers would have a much higher tick rate than the core EFT game, maybe 100, maybe higher. When asked about a quest system for Arena, he said no, there wouldn't be actual quests, but inside of the Arena, there might be goals or like task-oriented goals to be able to unlock things. So a progressive path, like kill 20 PMCs, it unlocks some weapon or some loadout, some piece of armor. Then asked if there would be stationary weapons on the map, he said most likely. If there would be a nighttime or if there would be maps that are played at night, he said yes. Would there be timers or like a time to be able to loot your people that you've killed? Because remember, there's supposed to be full looting in arena mode. So if you kill someone, you'll be able to loot their body. The host, the guy named the host, will be telling you what to do as the arena progresses. So you have to kind of fight each other. If you don't, or if you don't progress toward whatever the goal is supposed to be on the map and you kind of ignore the purpose of the map, it will have a time limit. And Nikita basically said the host will potentially send in like a sweeper squad of AI that will kill everyone that is left on the map if they don't do what they're supposed to do. When asked if there was a secure container for Arena, Nikita said no. Loot spawning in the arena was a yes. Points of interest inside of the arena will be a thing with weapons, ammo, and meds, etc. In terms of game mechanics, and this is the big one that everybody wanted an answer to, game mechanically, will Arena function, will your PMC function any differently in Arena versus the core Tarkov game?
How customizable the Arena will be in terms of mechanics? Will players have an ability to make PMC die from a single shot or other crazy mechanics? No. Pure EFT realism.
No. It will be exactly the same. They will be a carbon copy of each other. And for me, I know that there are people that are going to disagree with this because of words like skill ceiling and all of this other stuff, and I'm not trying to be a sarcastic jerk. If Tarkov's Arena mode were going to have different PMC-style mechanics for things like inertia, recoil control, etc., it would not be Tarkov. It would be a different game with Tarkov-esque mechanics. They would not be the same. In order for the game to be representative of what Tarkov actually is, in my opinion, they need to have the same exact mechanics. As Arena mode progresses, it will work itself into an introductory form of Tarkov's bigger game, and in my opinion, would allow people to get their feet wet, understand what Tarkov is about, and then move potentially into Tarkov's core game. I think that is the best path of action here to introduce a potentially brand new audience to Tarkov in a competitive format. And then maybe they'll go into Tarkov proper. But the answer for everyone that you are looking for is it exactly the same. If you own EOD for Arena mode, you will be able to use your own gear stash. So you can bring in your own armor, your own weapon builds, etc. The standalone version will give you weapon presets that you can run, and I suppose there will be some customizability with that as well. There will also be a PvE mode in Arena with waves of enemies that will obviously attack you, and you can try to beat it with your friends. Also, there is going to be a mechanic where people on the outside can bet money on what they believe the outcome of matches to be. You have to remember that there was going to be this larger spectator spectacle kind of thing. And in Nikita's world, he would like people to be able to watch this from the outside as if you were at an actual arena. Really cool if they can pull that off. Now, moving into other associated items for the next patch. Arena mode is not going to be in the next patch, but my guess is it will be starting to get tested at some point by the end of the summer. So maybe the patch after that. We'll see. Remember that Arena was touted to be released with Streets at the same time, along with the map terminal. So maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't earlier than that. But on to the next impending patch, and we have gameplay footage and a bunch of other things that were added and changed. So the first thing was the initial clothing for Bear and Yusek have been changed. There are new models here that have been revamped, and they look really good. For instance, the Fast MT that is shown on the Bear chin straps no longer clip through the face of that person, that character model. So they've also redone a lot of attachment points, and it looks really, really good. Also in this menu, but we'll talk more about this in a minute, is the addition of a co-op mode that was being shown in the menus on game launch. We then also have the addition of the Benelli M3, which we've seen teaser images for, but we actually have video of the Benelli working inside of a raid instance, which is awesome. It's going to be a version of the Super 90 that has both pump action and semi-automatic firing modes. So you have the ability to use it as a pumper if you like, or change it to semi-auto and rapid fire. My guess from a mechanics standpoint is that they will likely end up making the pump action have a bit more accuracy than the semi-auto fire. That's kind of just how they've been doing it since we saw the Chiappa Rhino added. We also have an addition of the G36, and according to Nikita, it will be just about every variant of the G36C that exists. We also have this inbuilt optic that was teased where Demirka was running around using it. Obviously, the inbuilt optic for the G36 has been kind of garbage, but Nikita is obviously a completionist and is going to include it for the sake of continuity. And then we see the potential swan song of the entire podcast, which is attachments added to the SR1911, whereby taking the most powerful gun that has ever existed in the history of humankind and made it even fancier and stronger. Chambered in God's caliber, the back-to-back World War champions, the SR1911. All right, anyway, from here we also have the Rifle Dynamics RD704, which looks an awful lot like an AK, but is a little bit stronger, faster, more powerful. Nikita showed us a bunch of clips of this gun firing and a new edition of this magazine that we see here that is windowed. Pretty sweet. Now, this is chambered in 7.62x39. Will likely end up rivaling the Mutant. We'll have to see where it goes from here, but it looks really good. There were also some additional teasers of flares inside of Demirka's inventory as he was looking through things. There were a bunch of different ones and a flare gun, which we saw some of it being touched off inside of a raid instance. The flares look like they have strikers. They're single shot. So Nikita said that there were going to be 4 types of signal flares that will cause drops and 2 others that will be just for colored signaling. With the 4 types of drops flares being general, supply crate, which will be like generalized supplies, my guess is like food and whatnot, a medical crate, and weapons parts crates. But we didn't see that in this podcast because they were playing in offline mode. Nikita said, like, you're not going to see it in offline mode if you try and play with it because it has to ping the server to actually send in the right type of plane. The 2 other types of flares Nikita said will be for like illumination, illuminating a dark lit area, or a signal flare for the purpose of finishing a task of some kind. Maybe we'll even see the flare extract that has been getting teased for the last like year and a half. Who knows? On to boss stuff. So there are a couple of video teasers that we didn't get to see that Nikita said he wasn't satisfied with. He's going to have them touched up, fixed, whatever, to his satisfaction, and then release them to us on socials. But what we did get told is that bosses are going to roam different maps at different times of the day. So we're going to end up seeing bosses showing up on different maps like customs, for instance, adjacent maps perhaps to the lighthouse, customs, shoreline, whatnot, where we'll see these guys at different points in time during the day showing up on those maps. What will be interesting about this is as the community learns what times of day they're seeing them. So I'm very much looking forward to the release of this patch so we can get the community hive mind going. Speaking of which, if you would like to be part of that community hive mind, please come to discord.gg/onepeg and join in the discussion. From here, there's also going to be 2 more USEC and 2 more Bear voice actors added. Additional USEC lines, maybe English, maybe Australian for the next 2. And on the Bear side, there's going to be 2 Bears that are going to have broken English. Pretty cool. You'll be able to select those from character creation, obviously. And just as a reminder, once you pick whatever voice profile you're going to use, that is not something that you can choose again. It's set and done. Next, we had a clip for AMD FSR, which, for those of you that aren't aware, is like NVIDIA DLSS, but for AMD. Although, since AMD has often touted itself, like with FreeSync, for instance, as being relatively open source, as it turns out, NVIDIA cards should also work with AMD FSR as well. I would give it a shot, see if it's any better than DLSS. You should still see some type of frame rate increase. Obviously, we'll have to look and play with it and see what it looks like, but it should work with NVIDIA GPUs, which gives you an opportunity to see if there's less artifacting with FSR versus DLSS or not. Once again, the idea behind this is that it's going to play the game in a lower resolution and then upscale it to whatever your current resolution is. If you are playing at 1080p, it will likely look like garbage. If you're playing at 1440p, it might be passable, but it's generally designed to work in 4K resolutions at 60 FPS. The higher the resolution, the better this type of stuff performs. It will give you a frame rate bump, but will likely possibly end up looking like complete garbage if you are a 1080p gamer. Next, we have a clip of Fence giving out dailies for scavs. So now, on a daily basis, once the patch is out, we will be able to produce or conduct ourselves as scavs doing dailies for Fence Rep. Really cool. Next, we had a clip of IR torches and lasers working with night vision goggles. Also in this, it looks like the NVGs have been vastly improved. Very, very cool. So then we had some elaboration on this co-op mode. So at the start of the video, we talked about the co-op mode and like the little checkbox, right? So in co-op mode, you have the ability to start as a group, with a group up to 11 people. Pretty cool mechanic for people trying to learn how to play better. I think that's awesome. This will be hosted on BSG's servers. It will not be local hosted. Obviously, this is going to count as like an offline raid mode, so you're not going to be able to keep any of the gear or anything, but it does give you the ability to practice, which is really, really cool. However, and this is kind of the issue with this option will only be available for people that own EOD, the Edge of Darkness edition, at least for now. The idea behind it is that they have additional server load and capacity that they have to pay for in order to be able to cover co-op mode. People want to buy EOD to be able to have that co-op mode would be an incentive for them to be able to afford it. Now, on paper, that kind of makes sense. You need money to be able to afford servers. But psychologically, to me, this doesn't make sense. The people that need offline co-op mode the most, in my opinion, are people that are learning how to play the game. If you're learning how to play the game, you don't know, in a lot of cases, whether or not you're dedicated to playing the game. And it's awful easy to say, like, bye-bye poors in this case, sure, but if you're brand new and you just spent $45 to see if it's something that you like or not, the idea behind forcing you then to spend like $100 more just to be able to do some offline co-op with somebody to teach you the game, if you then only realize that you don't really like the game, I don't know if that's really the good move here. I can understand the cost prohibitiveness, I suppose, on the BSG side of things, I mean. From here, we get into some big boy stuff. One is the M32 MGL, the 6-shooter grenade launcher. Nikita said it's going to be really hard to obtain. Remember that the bosses are supposed to be roaming on a bunch of different maps at different times. It is only going to be lootable. It will not be purchasable. The only way to obtain the MGL would be to kill Big Pipe, who has the MGL. Now, obviously, in order to be able to loot that, you have to survive an encounter with a guy that's shooting at you with a 6-barrel grenade launcher. And the thing fires fast. Like, you can really lay it down with this thing. It was kind of brutal. My concern, as always, has been a few different things. The spawn rate of the boss is obviously going to come into play with how farmable he is. How much exploitive you can be with the AI and its mechanics obviously comes into play as well. If you can figure out a location and time frame to be able to farm him on a really reliable basis, what's that location and what's the time frame? And once that gets figured out, how farmable is he? Once you have that in your possession, obviously, then you can make it rain and it becomes a total noob tube cannon. Maybe it's going to be rare, and I hope it is, because if it's prevalent on maps, it's going to be a pain. If you kill a guy with one, though, that'd be pretty sweet. Then we had a clip of the MP18, which is a break-action single-shot 7.62 54R rifle, the newest of the new Timmy meme cannons. One of the takeaways with this is not only is this funny and would be an awesome addition to the meme guns, as it were, the scav animations as they're dying look really, really good. Like they're heavy bodies. Like if you kill a scav right now in Tarkov, when people die in Tarkov, when they fall over, it's kind of like they look light. They look ragdollish. Like you could kind of just toss them around. In this, it kind of looks like more of that sack of potatoes effect where they fall heavily. They actually look like they have some weight to them. Props to the animations team because they're killing it. Now, there's two big things here, and I saved them for the end for those of you that decided to stick around. We have a bolt-action 338 AXM Lapua, and they are adding suppressors for it and for the Mjolnir, the DMR chambered in 338. So this is essentially an op. It looks ridiculously good. It sounds good. And I cannot wait. This is going to be end game, of course. But man, if there was ever a gun that I wanted to shoot in this game, I've been having a lot of fun sniping over the last, entire wipe. I've been having a lot of fun sniping. Man, just step on my neck as long as I can have it. Just please. Please. And then last but not least, the panty dropper are the new animations and sound effects. First, we have these new animations of running depending on the size of the gun. Larger guns take a lot more arm handling, less arm sway. And then we move to like the smaller weapons, and you can see how these run animations change depending on what it is that you have in your hands when you're running with them. And it's all based on the number of slots or squares that they take up. Then we also have crouching animations and then leaning from one side to the other. And they look good. You can see like the little shoulder flexing and like how their body is a lot more dynamically moving. It looks a lot more humanistic, looks a lot more natural. There's a lot of attention to detail here. There really is. You can't deny that. And then we have, as these PMCs are kind of running around in circles, you can see how their body leans a little bit as they're like turning corners, like running around. Again, looking more lifelike and realistic when people are changing direction hard, like turning, banking hard, like to the left or to the right. They kind of like lean into that as they're running. But on top of that, you can see all of the gear on the PMC's back just kind of like shaking around as it's moved. And it just, again, looks a lot more immersive. The coolest part about this, other than the 338 Lapua, though, is the sound effects when they're dropping guns on the ground.
Ладно.
О, пистолет.
Пистолеты есть. Ну, отлично.
They added sound effects to like these physical bodies hitting stuff, and that is awesome. Just awesome. Now, of course, this is a big content patch, and we hope that there's going to end up being some bug fixes in here too. I'd love to see how the networking performs. Will this be Unity 2020? Maybe, possibly. They've been testing Unity 2020. Hopefully it gets added along with this patch, but the new animations, the way that everything is laid out, looks really, really good, and I hope that this trend continues. I'm really looking forward to this content patch. There's a lot in here. So hopefully we'll see this in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And keep your eyes open for obviously news videos here about what's coming with the next like pre-wipe event stuff, because that's going to be relatively soon, I would imagine. Obviously, I will have videos for all of that. Please stay tuned to the channel. If you're not a sub, please consider subbing. Please follow me on my socials at OnePegMG on Twitter. And please consider giving me a follow over twitch.tv/OnePeg, where I am live every morning around 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, and for those of you that decided to stick around until the end, we raised $9,100 for St. Jude. You guys came in correct, baby. They were amazingly happy. It's one of the highest amounts of money they've ever seen from the 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard block. You killed it. So thank you so much for all of that support. Thank you for supporting me over the years, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.